Hey, in this video, I want to talk about JavaScript. So what is JavaScript and why is it important for you? Well, let's find out. JavaScript is a programming language. And if you are a web developer, it's important because it's part of the frontend. So in the frontend, we have HTML, CSS, JavaScript. In the backend, if you're a Rails developer, of course, you have Ruby. Now, what is the use of JavaScript? Well, before we cover that, let me show you how we can work with JavaScript. In a modern browser like Firefox, Chrome, you can press F12 to open what's called the Web Developer Tools. And you will notice there are different tabs, right? We have this debugger tab, we have the inspector tab, the style editor, and the tabs that you get might change depending on your browser, your specific browser. In this case, I'm using Firefox. Okay, so you want the console tab, this console tab. And in here, you can type JavaScript code just like in IRB in Ruby. Here is the kind of things that you can do in JavaScript. It's a general programming language, so we have things like strings. So just like in Ruby, we can do a variable assignment, and then we have a string. We can also have things like integers right there. We can have arrays right there. That's an array in JavaScript, and you notice it looks very much like in Ruby. So a lot of concepts from Ruby, the basic concepts like if statements, loops, methods, arrays, strings, all of these ideas translate into JavaScript, as you can see here. Now, you can also call methods like in Ruby, and the syntax is very similar, as you can see. It's the dot syntax, but you will notice there is no size method, so the actual methods that are available change very much. But we can find them. As you can see, we have length, and there are other things that you can use with, as you can see here. So what's next? You can concat, and you can see it says function concat, right? And you will use it something like this. If you have a string A, we can do concat B, and we get a B. So notice one thing with JavaScript, you have to use parentheses when you're using functions or methods. So that's also, you have, like I say, you have things like if statements, and for those you have to use parentheses. So we could say if the array A has a length of greater than 2, we also need these curly brackets. Then we can print something like test. So that will be your if statement in JavaScript. So that's the basics of the programming languages and how you interact with it. Now, what do you use JavaScript for in a web development project? Well, the main thing is that you want to be able to change the DOM. Let me write that for you. It means document object model. Document object model. What's that? Well, that's basically a tree which has all of the elements in your website, right? Like this header here, or this text, or this search box, or this menu, right? All of that are elements, or this logo, all of that are elements on the website, and we might want to change them. And that's what you can do with JavaScript. And to change a specific element, we have to first find it. So we can find it like this. So with your web developer tools, you can find a specific element, and you can see what kind of element it is. We can see it's an H1 element. So we can find it with the console, saying document, which is how we access the document tree, which has all of the elements in the page. Then we can say something like query selector. Here's what we're looking for, H1, and this is going to be like CSS selectors, just like jQuery, which we don't use anymore for the most part. So there is our H1 title, and you can also notice that it's highlighted by the browser. So that's browser dependent, but it's helpful so you can see what you're working with. So from here, we can do a few things. We can take our element and we can, for example, change its font size. So that will look like that. So we can say 20px and you see it becomes really small. We can make it bigger like that. And we can also change its color, make it silver or make it white or make it black, right? So we can make this kind of style changes, and we can change all of the attributes for this particular element. We can make it hidden, changing the display property. So yeah, you can change things like that for every element. You can also change the actual contents of the element. So instead of JavaScript like that, you can write JavaScript like this, right? You can move it from the page into the others. You can do everything that you can do with plain HTML and CSS, but without reloading the page, without going to the server and asking for a new page. You can do also animations, like we could make this text bounce if you want to do that for some reason, and things like that. So everything that has some dynamic component in the front end, on the page the user is seeing, then that you use JavaScript for. So that's why we use JavaScript. Now a few mentions on when you need it from JavaScript, when to use it, and also about front-end frameworks. You probably heard about React, Vue, and Angular, things like that. The thing is, the truth is, you don't need any of that. You don't need jQuery, you don't need React. It's not necessary to build professional Rails application or professional web application, okay? It's very important that you understand that, because you can use plain JavaScript if we make things simpler for you, especially if you're getting started. Just use plain JavaScript. So that means things like query selector and the things I show you in this video. You don't need any libraries or any frameworks to build a professional Rails application. Okay? So my standard is build your regular Rails application, and then you can add a little bit of JavaScript on top to enhance it, to improve it, to give the user an improved experience if they have JavaScript enabled. But your application should be able to work without JavaScript at all. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please click the like button for me so I know that you like it. And also, watch more videos in this channel if you want to learn more. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet so you can get more videos like this. Finally, visit my website rubyguides.com. Thanks a lot for watching. I will see you in the next video.